All right, we're live. I'm going to wait for people to come on. It's still a little bit early. I'm actually going to look and just see right now. I'm going to look and see how to get people on the live stream to like on the video. I'm not sure how to do that. Let's see. Share screen. Yeah. How can you share? It says share screen. Oh, okay. I can share. That's cool. I can share a screen on here. So let me pull this up. For they have come. We're going to read this. For they have come, except. Let's see. For they have come. All right. So I can pull up a screen. That's interesting. We're going to pick the screen that we're going to get. Let's see. This is on Firefox. I don't know. This is not the screen I wanted. This screen. All right. Is this screen coming up? Maybe not. All right. Let's stop that. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna read from. This is chapter 26. While I wait for some people to come on, chapter 26. It's called the transition. This is in the text of A Course in Miracles, and this was Helen's or one of Helen's favorite parts of A Course in Miracles. Remember, Helen Schuckman was a scribe, and this was one of her favorite parts. It's very, very poetic passage here. And while we wait for people to come, for they have come. Here we go. Think but how holy you must be, from whom the voice for God calls lovingly unto your brother, that you may awake in him the voice that answers to your call. And think how holy he must be when in him sleeps your own salvation, with his freedom joined. However much you wish he be condemned, God is in him. And never will you know he is in you as well while you attack his chosen home and battle with his host. Regard him gently. Look with loving eyes on him who carries Christ within him, that you may behold his glory and rejoice that heaven is not separate from you. That was the first paragraph. Second paragraph. Is it too much to ask a little trust for him who carries Christ to you, that you may be forgiven all your sins and left without a single one you cherish still? Forget not that a shadow held between your brother and yourself obscures the face of Christ and memory of God. And would you trade them for an ancient hate? The ground whereon you stand is holy ground because of them who, standing there with you, have blessed it with their innocence and peace. The blood of hatred fades to let the grass grow green again, and let the flowers be all white and sparkling in the summer sun. What was a place of death has now become a living temple in a world of light because of them. It is their presence which has lifted holiness again to take its ancient place upon an ancient throne. Because of them have miracles sprung up as grass and flowers on the barren ground that hate had scorched and rendered desolate. What hate has wrought have they undone. And now you stand on ground so holy, heaven leans to join with it and make it like itself. The shadow of an ancient hate has gone, and all the blight and withering have passed forever from the land where they have come. Still waiting for someone to show up here. I have faith. Someone is going to come. What is 100 or 1,000 years to them, or tens of thousands? When they come, time's purpose is fulfilled. What never was passes to nothingness when they have come. What hatred claimed is given up to love, and freedom lights up every living thing and lifts it into heaven, where the lights grow ever brighter as each one comes home. The incomplete is made complete again, and heaven's joy has been increased because what is its own has been restored to it. The bloodiest earth is cleansed, and the insane have shed their garments of insanity to join them on the ground whereon you stand. Oh, hello. How's it going? I was trying to see how to get someone else on the video here. Thank you for joining. Is that Carlo? All right, we're here. Yeah, I'm trying to thanks for joining. 6 o'clock there, right? I'm hoping we get some people on again, but even if it's just you and me, that's okay. I was gonna look how to get someone else on the chat here, like on the video, but I'm not sure how to do that yet. Let me see over here. I guess maybe I have to upgrade. I have to upgrade maybe to the next level on YouTube in order to get that. So while we're waiting maybe for some more people to come. Oh, okay. Okay. No problem. So, yeah, do you have anything you want to talk about? Any questions or any things you want me to address? Any things that have come up for you? Thoughts? Or I was just reading a passage from A Course in Miracles while I was waiting for people to come. My plan today was really just to maybe talk about A Course in Miracles in light. Yeah. Well, I think it's more like what people want. We could go a lot of different directions, but initially when you brought this up with me, it seemed like you had something you wanted me to address, like specifically, how to navigate life today, living in this world, and maybe the trust issues that come up with things that are going on, and we seem to be on the verge of catastrophe here. The wars that are happening right now, especially in the Middle East with Israel and the Palestinians. Obviously, what's going on in the United States is a very challenging situation. Yeah, how can ACIM help? Well, personally, I think ACIM, A Course in Miracles, helps everything. But it's all about like whether you want to let it and you want to go there with it, because it's its own. The Course, more than anything, you could say, is like a thought system. It's a whole thought system that really does work if you give it a chance. And part of the thing is that it's a big book, and not everyone agrees upon what it says. And you'll hear different interpretations, different opinions. So, that's something we can talk about as well, is like how to even read and understand A Course in Miracles, and the different interpretations that you hear out there. I think simply put, it all comes down to letting go of the judgments that we have. And there's a great line in A Course in Miracles, which is where Jesus says, "You have no idea of the deep peace and tremendous release that comes from meeting yourself and your brother totally without judgment." So this is a path of learning to release all judgment that we have, and learning to recognize that we really don't know, and if we don't know, then we can't judge. and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because the judgment is what keeps us in a state of worry, anxiety, fear, depression, all the things that most people experience on a daily basis, on a moment to moment basis. And I don't think you really know how much you're holding on to until you get beyond that, right? You don't know how much you're kind of tense and fearful until you have an experience that takes you beyond that, and then you understand that may not be true, right? The fear, the anxiety, the worry, the things that are keeping us in that state of tension and feeling, for a sense of foreboding, which is like, that something bad is going to happen any moment. Hanging, living like there's a sword hanging over your head, basically. And A Course in Miracles really is a whole path on how to overcome that. And essentially, it's it's a very simple. The answer it gives is a very simple one, which is that we really have nothing to fear. Fear is not real, and ultimately, what we really are can never be attacked, and what we really are can never be hurt and can never be threatened. Now, that's the simple answer, but that's not an easy answer, because for most of us that doesn't make sense. Because we seem to be bodies, we seem to be a person, a persona. We have a persona, we have a personality, we have we have a whole life in this world that we take very seriously and is very real for us. And the world seems very real. The world does not seem illusory. So Jesus's simple answer in the Course is not so simple, at least from our perspective. But he keeps saying in the Course, it is simple. This is very simple. Simple, but it's not necessarily easy, as I think we've talked about before. It's challenging because, again, we think we seem to inhabit a world of bodies. We seem to inhabit a world of division and separation, and we inhabit a world of judgment, and we inhabit a world of how can we stop being so judgmental? Good question. That is a question. That is the $64 million question, as they say. How can we let go of the judgment? It's step by step. It's not like you're gonna just read something or even have an experience and all the judgment will be gone. It happens gradually over time, and the Course is presenting a gentle process, right? It's leading us gently out of our judgment, and it's helping us to realize that the ego is not our amigo, right? And the ego is based in judgment. The ego's thought system is one of separation, And how do you keep separation? You keep it through judgment, right? Through creating division and creating barriers and creating us and them and me and you, and we're different, and we will never be, we will never meet. There's never a place that we could possibly meet. We're always going to be separate. And the Course is saying no. The reality is that you have never been separate, and that is fundamental. And the illusion is what you think it is, which is, you think, never the twain shall meet. You could never stop judging, right? You can never be at peace in this world, according to the ego. You can never relax. You can never stop worrying. And what Jesus calls the Holy Spirit's thought system, that's the ego's thought system. What Jesus calls the Holy Spirit's thought system is, that's totally untrue. The ego's thought system is totally false, totally untrue. And you definitely can live without your ego. And this is something that even people in different spiritual groups think, well, you still need your ego, right? You need the ego protects you. You need the ego to as a defense mechanism. You need your ego to as a defense mechanism. You need your ego. But that's the Course is saying no. You don't need your ego. Actually, you can get the ego. The ego basically can fade so much into the background that it's not running your life. Right. And the other way to look at the ego is fear-based thinking. Any kind of fear-based thinking is the ego. So if you can start to look at the choices that you make and where you're choosing out of fear, where you're making choices out of fear, and at least start to question those choices. You don't have to, again, you might not change your life overnight, right? It might not happen like that, but you start to question, is this true? Is what I'm thinking true? Could I see this a different way? Can I see this in a different light than how I'm seeing it right now? And once you open the door to that, once you open the door to questioning your beliefs, then that will change everything. But as long as you stay locked into that, this is right, that's wrong, and it will never be, I can never accept anything other than that, then you will remain stuck. And we all are on that. It's like we're all doing A Course in Miracles, whether we know it or not, right? It's happening whether we're doing the Course or not. Everyone is here in life is being presented with opportunities to learn, right? And some will learn and some will remain stuck. But whether you do learn or not, it really is going to be up to you. Whether or not, it really is going to be up to you whether you're open to changing. And really it comes down to changing your mind and being willing to see things in a different way. So I was giving one example. I'm trying to think of current events. I mean, one thing I was thinking, just in terms of like U.S. politics. So the rhetoric in if you've watched U.S. politics, but it's politics everywhere. You have both sides try to demonize the other side, right? They try to make the other side look as bad as possible, and they try to instill fear into people and say, for example, if Donald Trump were to become president, that would be the end of democracy, right? He would become an autocrat, a dictator, we would never, life would never be the same. You might as well just leave the United States because it's going to become a totalitarian regime. Now that's what we call fear mongering. That's not true at all. Donald Trump was already president, and that was not the end of democracy, and it's not going to be the end of democracy if he were to become president. I'm not saying that I want him to become president. I'm just saying that rhetoric is there to create the fear, is to help you become fearful, right? To not to become fearful, but to reinforce the fearful thoughts you already have, right? And then on the other side, Donald Trump, says the other same thing about the other side, that whatever he's saying, he's switching from Biden to Kamala Harris, right? It's just it's all it's all laughable when you really look at it. It's nothing to get all up in arms about. Here's another way you can look at this: is we're on the verge of World War III right now. Will World War III happen? Maybe it's already happening. Maybe it's already started, World War III, right? But if World War III happens, let's say it does, it's not going to be the end of the world, right? It's going to be that there's probably going to be a lot of death and devastation and so on, but life will go on. And I think that the thing is that if you stay sincere and true to your path of opening to love and to opening to finding your true self and to living your authentic self. Oh, we got someone else here. then you're. I will speak to that in a second. Let me just finish this thought, which is, if you stay on your path, you're going to be okay. You don't need to give in to the fear, right? That's all right. So judgment towards the other, but as well judgment towards yourself. Yes, inner criticism is not easy to remove. Course does help with it. Questioning beliefs, yes. Thank you. Yes, exactly. It's any judgment, any external judgment that we make, or outward judgment towards anything, is really starting from within. We don't judge anyone else except that we've already judged ourselves, right? If we did not already judge ourselves, then we would not judge anyone else. And that's the illusion, is that we think that, when we judge someone else, we've shifted the blame, right? They're the bad ones. They're the ones that have the problem. But no, as soon as we judge, we're hiding from ourselves the fact that we have already judged ourselves. Let me give an example. Just because I want to keep this current. So I did a video the other day about Tenacious D, the band that just broke up, Jack Black and Kyle Gass. And I was just making a point about how I think that what Jack Black did was maybe a little extreme. He broke up his band over his partner Kyle's remarks. And someone made a comment on the video, which was, "You're wrong. Kyle was wrong to say what he said. And and no one should have anything to do with him." And I said, well, if you completely write off Kyle, it's, you're not acknowledging that you've probably also said something like that yourself. And would you write yourself off? So when people make judgments, whenever we make judgments, we're really just judging ourselves, because we do the same thing. Whatever we're judging against, we do the same thing in one way or another, in some form or another, right? We do the same exact thing. So it's better if we just, instead of pointing the finger at someone else, you know, they say when you point the finger, you have 3 fingers pointing back at you. We just want to we just want to start looking at ourselves and looking at, why am I not at peace? And why do I feel like I need to judge this person? And can I is there any room that I can find, or is there any place I can find in my heart to have compassion and to have forgiveness for this situation rather than judgment? Because the judgment is obviously not making me happy or anyone else. it's only bringing more division. And you know, the world kind of runs on that. You know, the world runs on judgment. The world runs on the entertainment of people fighting with each other. You know, there is a, you know, we love the drama, and it is entertaining on a certain level. But on the other hand, it's also it leads to conflict, it leads to war, it leads to all the things that are horrific and tragic. And so the only thing that we can really do, it seems, is change our own minds, right? And there's that great line in the Course, which is, seek not to change the world, seek only to change your mind about the world, right? It's not about what's going on out there. It's about what's going on in your own mind. It all comes back to your own mind. And this Course, A Course in Miracles, is a course in changing your mind. It's not a course in changing the world. But the truth is, it's kind of a paradox. You know, when you change your mind, the world does change, right? Things do change, actually. And you're having an effect when you're changing your mind, when you're doing your spiritual practice and when you're doing your spiritual work, it's having an impact. Whether it looks like it on the surface or not, it is having an impact. You know, most people are not going to tell you also, you know, that you're helping them in your in just your presence and how you know how you act, but you are having an impact in that way. And you know, the Course itself says you don't realize how making these changes in your mind can affect everything. But even more than that, it's not about necessarily affecting the world. It's about returning your mind back to source, right? That's really what it comes down to. And when you do that, you realize there is no problem, right? Everything is already solved. Everything, there is a perfection to it all that you can only know if once you've returned your mind back to source. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Oh, watching the mainstream media is the worst impact from returning to source. I can't see what that word is there. Watching the mainstream media. Well, I think you can watch the media, you know, the mainstream media. Let me say this. Okay, so I think this is something true about the spiritual journey. When you start your spiritual journey, especially like when you do things like meditation and so on, you start with having a quiet place to meditate, right? You remove yourself from society. Maybe you have a room that you meditate in, and you go there and you try to be free from disturbances, distractions. And also you want to hang around people that support your spiritual path, not people that are bringing you down. And also media. You don't want to be listening to media that also makes you crazy, makes you upset and disturbed and so on, and agitated. But I think as you go along, these things don't disturb you as much. You can meditate anywhere. You could meditate in a busy street. You could meditate on the subway. You can meditate in a crowd. You could hang around people that would have otherwise disturbed you before, and they don't disturb you. You could listen to any kind of media or loud music or whatever. It does not disturb you. Why? Because you have done that. You've gone on that journey, and you've gotten to the point where you can remain in your quiet center, in that place of undisturbed peace within yourself. And so, but what I'm trying to say is that that's where you're going, but that might not be where you are right now. So you may want to actually not listen to the media so much. Like, you might want to fast from the media, or things that are disturbing your mind. If it's disturbing you, then don't listen to it, right? You don't have to, right? You don't have to listen to any kind of media that agitates you. You don't need to hang around with people that bother you and that make you upset. But you can have some distance, right? Social distancing from these things. Yeah, would love to hear more thoughts if you're still there. I appreciate your being here, and we're about halfway through the live stream right now. It's about 12:30. I would love if you have any more questions or any more thoughts. Obviously, with the media, I would say there's some sources of media which are a little bit more reasonable, some which are more that you probably don't want to, listen to as much. I also choose who I'm going to listen to. I think today we have so many choices of what to listen to for news. We have the major news media groups, but then we have a lot of people commenting on the news, like on YouTube and so on. And I have my people that I go to that I really respect and I learn from myself. So you have to choose wisely what you're going to listen to. And it's like, what voice are you listening to, right? Are you listening to the Holy Spirit, or are you listening to the voice of love and forgiveness? Or are you listening to the voice of judgment and separation, which would be the ego? And so it's the same thing with the voices we listen to in our daily lives as well, in terms of like what media we tune into. Are we listening to people that are coming up with thank you. Are we listening to people that are promoting like conspiracy theories and wild claims without evidence and so on? Or are we listening to people that are more reasonable in how they approach things and are basing what they're saying on research and evidence, and they're citing their sources, and they're showing you where they're getting their information? That's what you want to listen to. You don't want to listen to the people that are just talking out of their butts, so to speak, and making wild, outrageous claims that they can't really back up. And oftentimes it's just because they want to get followers, that they want to create a buzz, or they want to be the first person to say something online, but everything is, what purpose does it serve? That's one of the great lines in A Course in Miracles. What is it for? Jesus says, what is it for? And you could say that about anything. It's like, you have to ask yourself, what is this for? What purpose is this serving? Is this serving the ego? Is this serving the fear-based thinking and the separation-based thinking, or is this serving love? Is this serving unity and togetherness? Am I helping to promote peace, or am I helping to promote war? Am I part of the solution, or am I part of the problem? And that's the Course really takes a very uncompromising view of that. It's like you're either doing one or the other. You're either supporting peace, or you're supporting war in every moment. With every choice you make, you're either supporting peace or you're supporting war. Of course, you could forgive yourself if you are supporting war. That's okay. You're just making a mistake. But if you don't want to support war, then you want to correct those mistakes. The Secret of the Golden Flower. Yes. Maybe we could read that at some point. The Secret of the Golden Flower. If you want to say more about that, please do. But yeah, we're returning our mind back to source, back to God, back to love. The ego speaks first, and the ego speaks the loudest. That's right. How do you listen to the still small voice? Well, it starts with that. Thank you for saying that. That's a very, very good point. Our default system is the ego, right? We have learned the ego's ways very well over the course of time. Maybe since the dawn of time, we have listened to the ego, right? And we've bought into the whole ego project and the ego thought system. So the ego's voice is the loudest and the one that we listen to the most. And the proverbial still small voice, that's from the Bible, right? The still small voice. I believe it's in the with Elijah, right? Hey, how's it going there? How you doing, brother? You're not late. You're right on time. You're right on time. Divine timing. Yeah, we're talking about how to listen to the still small voice versus the voice of the ego. Well, the first thing, and this is what A Course in Miracles is really helping us to do, is to differentiate between what is the ego and what is spirit, right? What is the voice of spirit and what is the voice of ego? Or you could say, what is the voice of love and what is the voice of fear? Or what is real and what is unreal? What is true and what is false? How do you differentiate? Well, first you have to recognize what is false. And the first thing you ask yourself is, am I thinking this, or am I making this choice out of fear? Am I making this choice because I'm afraid that if I don't do this, something bad is going to happen, that that I have to do this, otherwise, this scenario is going to happen, or whatever? Or am I making this choice because it's from love? Now, sometimes you have to make choices. Obviously, we have to make choices sometimes that are in the moment where we might, it's what you call expedient choices, where you have to maybe make choices because you are concerned about what might happen if you don't make that choice, right? You have to obviously do certain things that need to get done. But I think what we're really talking about here is we're talking about choosing love, choosing your true self, choosing that your higher calling, you could say, on a more and more consistent basis. And really, I think what that means is you're doing what you love, right? And you're thinking loving thoughts, and you're choosing to think loving thoughts. It's as simple as what we always say, which is seeing the glass half full versus half empty, right? We could always see the glass half full if we want. We don't have to be negative. We don't have to choose the negative spin on things. but rather we can choose to see things in a more positive light. Because the reality is, again, is that we can't judge. We don't have a way to judge. You know, we can't judge in any case. So why would we judge to see it negatively when we could see it positively? And I think that's the simple answer. I hope that's a good answer to your question, Carlo, about how do you choose the still small voice. The still small voice, you know, Jesus says in the Course, the ego speaks first and is the loudest, right? But the Holy Spirit's voice, the still small voice, is actually the most magnetic and is the biggest pull in the universe, right? That is the voice of love, and love is the strongest force in the universe because that's the only reality. Oh, great. Thank you. I'm continuing with my answer. Love is the strongest force. It's the only force. It's the only reality. So the still small voice is the voice of love, right? The voice for love. And most of the time, why do we not listen to that voice? Well, because the world is not, you know, the world is not about love. This is a world. We live in a world of separation, of division, of you know, as we say things like, it's a jungle, it's a dog-eat-dog world that we live in. Competition rules the day. There's the winners and the losers, the good guys and the bad guys, and the more that we buy into that, and the more energy we give to that, you know, quote unquote reality, the more that we will not listen to that voice of love, that still small voice. But it's about reversing. You know, Jesus keeps saying in the Course, this is reversing the entire thinking of the world. This is a course in thought reversal, reversing the thought system of the ego completely. Right, the thought system of the ego is hell bent on hell. Right, hell bent on separation. Keep the separation going. Keep the division going for as long as you possibly can. Don't ever let up. Don't ever, you know, give in to trying to one up your brother, right? Or to somehow be the winner, or to you know, make your egoic persona look as good as possible. Whereas the Holy Spirit's thought system is the complete opposite. It's about choosing love first, making love the priority, making love the most important thing. Once you do that, everything else really will fall into place for you, and you don't have to keep up with the rest of the world in the rest of the world's insanity, right? You don't have to. You actually do not. You can opt out, and the Course also calls itself the alternative, right? This is the alternative to the madness of the world, and you really do not have to buy into it. You know, and yeah, it's just keeping us in a state of panic and anxiety and dis-ease, and we really do not have to keep choosing that. And the less we choose the insanity, the more peaceful and happy we will be, you know, and the more we will find the joy and the love that we're really seeking, you know, that we really want, and which everyone else really wants too. You know, that's the thing, is that, you know, don't forget that everyone else deep down wants the same thing. You know, we're all in the same boat. You know, Jesus calls this the sonship. We're all integral parts of the sonship. So we can't judge anyone for being crazy, because we're crazy too. Otherwise, if we weren't crazy, we wouldn't be here, right? There's that great quote, if I were all there, I wouldn't be here. Right? We're all mad. It's Alice in Wonderland thing too. We're all mad here. So don't try to make yourself better or more special than anyone else either. Just acknowledge that we're all in the same boat. And as when I choose peace, and when I choose forgiveness, and when I choose to let go of my grievances and let go of my judgment, everyone else, that takes something away from everyone else as well. Everyone else feels something lifted as well. And it's kind of like the butterfly effect. It's like you make a little shift in your mind and it does affect everything. In the mind, we put a lot of importance on what we do, but A Course in Miracles is not about what we do. It's about what we think, right? It's about what's going on in our mind. And our mind is the most powerful thing in the universe. Our bodies just carry out what our mind directs our bodies to do. So we don't want to put so much importance on the body and on the ego persona. We want to put we want to start to get in touch with our mind and what's happening in our mind. And we want to start to become more and more honest with ourselves about what's happening in our mind, and not keep pushing things away and trying to hide from the truth, right? But we want to start to become more and more open to being in the truth and being honest with ourselves. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts now. Anything, if anyone has anything to share. Hey, Will, how's it going there, brother? I believe that's I believe you're the person I know. I think you are. Tell me if you are. Thank you. That's great to hear. Thank you, Carla. It's kind of a funny thing because I'm like talking to myself here. I don't know who's listening. That's why I want to get other people. That's why we might want to do a Zoom call at some point. Maybe for right now, we'll do it this way. I'm going to try to find out how to get other people on this live stream, on the live chat. So it's not just chatting with words, but we can actually talk to each other. Maybe next time we could try Zoom. Yeah, let's try Zoom next time. So I'll if you send me your email, and you can post your email right here in the chat. If you want me to send you an email with the link, I will. Cool. Good to hear. I'm inspired because I have an audience, right? When you have an audience, then you rise to the occasion. So I hope I'm rising to the occasion here. Yeah. So send me your email, and I already have your email, Carlo. Anyone else who's on here right now that wants to get on a Zoom call next Monday, same time, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. It would be 6 p.m. in Europe, Central Europe. I don't know other times in the world, but I know those times. California would be 9 a.m. in California, Pacific Standard Time. Right. All you need is one person. It's as Jesus said in the Gospels, when two or more are gathered in my name. And I believe that's what we're doing here. And, I think what I want to say more and more is the Course, if you're kind of on the outs with Christianity, the Course is not necessarily Christianity. It says it's Christian in statement, meaning it's Christian in form. The form of it seems Christian, but the content is universal spiritual themes. The course is a universal. That's why people of all religions could use the course, just like in the world of yoga, because I'm a yoga teacher. We say yoga is universal. Yoga, there's Christian yoga, there's Jewish yoga, there's Muslim yoga, there's Taoist yoga, Buddhist yoga. You know, the same with the Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles is a universal thought system. Really, it uses the Christian form, but it's not Christian necessarily. It uses that because Jesus really is, for many people in our world, Jesus is the greatest symbol of love and forgiveness, right? So it's helpful to use Jesus as the ideal, right? Because when we think of who is the greatest embodiment of love and forgiveness, we think of Jesus. You know, it's just natural. Even if you're Jewish and you don't believe in Jesus, that Jesus was the Messiah, you still might think of Jesus, right? You might think of, you know, even a Buddhist or a Hindu might think of Jesus. And some Hindus, for example, do think that Jesus was the greatest avatar ever. He was the greatest embodiment of God on earth that ever lived. So that's why, you know, the course, I think one reason why the course does come in that form is because, you know, Jesus is that symbol. But the other side of that is that a lot of people, Christianity is also seems to be the easiest religion to attack. And people also have a very ambivalent relationship with Christianity and with Jesus. Not like, you know, Christians that are believing Christians, but most other people have some kind of they're on, you know, they're not sure about Christianity, and they might even, you know, make fun of it or make fun of Jesus or have some kind of issue with it. Even Helen was ambivalent. You know, she was ambivalent her whole life. Even after the course came through her, she was not at peace. And she still felt like Jesus wasn't meeting her egoic needs. So anyway, that's more or less what I had to say about that. But yeah, we got 10 more minutes here. Let's meet on Zoom. Send me your email if you want. I'll also post the link. Your work is so important at this point. You're doing a great job, and let's continue having these sessions. Thanks so much. Thank you so much too. Oh, I can do that right now. If you want to stay on for a little bit, I can talk about my journey just for a few minutes. But if not, if you have to go, then we can do it next time too. And I hope when we're on the Zoom call, we could all talk about our own spiritual path and our spiritual journey. I will just say very. Okay, I'm gonna say very short synopsis of my spiritual journey. When I was 11, I had a very happy childhood, but when I was 11, starting with puberty and my parents divorced, or my parents separated, I started to have a very hard time, and my whole teenage years were very troubled, extremely troubled. I had an awakening, and I was very interested. I got very interested in questioning questions, the big questions of life, right? I took to philosophy, and I became a philosophy major. Then I had this awakening experience when I was 19. Basically, my heart opened one night, and it was like that for the next few months. And that led me onto a search, like a spiritual quest, a spiritual search. I went to Israel. I learned, I started to study religion. So I had philosophy under my belt, and then I started to study religion. Then I got into studying mysticism. And that ultimately led me to yoga. And yoga was a very big thing for me. This was when I was 26 years old. And for the next 10 years, I was very much on the yoga path. And then 10 years later, I got into plant medicine, specifically ayahuasca, which also was very crucial in my own process. And then about 10 years after that, I discovered A Course in Miracles. And A Course in Miracles, I understood to be the thing I was really ultimately looking for. It had the key to what I really needed in my journey. But I don't think I would have really appreciated the course if I had not done all that other stuff previously. Like if I had not gotten into philosophy and study of religion, and then plant medicine, and specifically yoga, and I went to India, and I had gurus, and I did the whole 9 yards. And then so I was really ready for the course in my 40s. Now I'm almost 55. But in my 40s, I was really ready for A Course in Miracles, and it came just at the right time for me. And I got into A Course in Miracles through Gary Renard's book, The Disappearance of the Universe, which I think is a very good book. And we could talk about the issues around that at some point if everyone wants to. It's kind of controversial. Gary Renard is a little bit controversial, but it got me into A Course in Miracles, and it got me into listening to Ken Wapnick and reading his books. And I think that Ken Wapnick really had an amazing understanding of A Course in Miracles. To this day, I listen to him more than anyone else to talk about A Course in Miracles. I think he really got it. Now, was he always right? I'm not sure. We'd have to talk about that, but there was a reason why Ken Wapnick worked for 8 years with Helen. Sorry, he worked side by side with Helen for the last 8 years of her life, helping her to edit the course and helping her on a number of levels as she was getting towards death. She died in 1981, and he was there from 1973 to 1981, and he had a lot of great stuff. I would recommend if you want to really start to get deeper into A Course in Miracles, watch his videos online. He has a lot of Ken Wapnick videos on YouTube. Here's a book that I would recommend. If you had to read one book by him, The Message of A Course in Miracles by Ken is a great one. And we could talk about this book, The Message of A Course in Miracles, at some point. So we're coming to the end of this hour of power. And I really appreciate those of you who are here today. I can't see how many of us are on this chat. Oh, there's three people. And I appreciate you being here. And I would love to stay connected. And like I said, we're going to do this again next Monday, the same time. We'll do it. We'll try Zoom. Try a Zoom call. And then later I'll post the Zoom call. Yes, thank you. Thank you all. Have a beautiful day. And if there's any last questions, I'll take one more question or one more thought. And otherwise we can call it a day. And yeah. Thank you. Thank you too. Rock on, everyone. To be a rock and not to roll. Keep on keeping on. We'll see y'all on the brother side. Peace out.